Welcome to tonight's transmission of the Ministry of Assumption Absolute Manifestation from a non-dual perspective. I thank you so much for co-creating this moment here with me. My name is Lucian St. James, and I'm here to guide you through the universal principles of self-liberation. Self-sovereignty is what we do here. And we're going to talk about what it means, or per my perspective, understanding and experience, that it means to utilize the law of assumption, which you are utilizing the law of assumption all the time. As I'm always saying, ministry mantra, no one needs to teach you to manifest, but what these transmissions are, what the intention and what the aim is to assist you and guide you in aligning your state of being and attuning your attention to the agreements of the desire of your wish fulfilled. So we're going to be talking about, what does it mean, even on a basic level, to assume something if you're feeling blocked or you're feeling stuck, or like you see movement sometimes and then it feels like things go backwards or they hit a wall. This transmission will be for you. And this is the insight as I was preparing for this that I came to, is that we're living in a material world through the illusion of separation because we exist, our awareness that is the gift of the consciousness of all things that can be. We are individualized expressions of all that can be. So there's consciousness that animates, that is God, that is source, that is everything. And as an expression of that consciousness, you incarnated into a meat suit. And in that meat suit is the power that you have to exercise and awareness, meaning you have the potential to be aware of all things, but it is the assignments of your attention that you will see manifested in you. So we have consciousness, and then awareness, and then you, and then your perspective, and then your world. That's what we're looking at here. So we're existing in this 3D reality, but our soul, but our awareness, that is the individualized expression of the consciousness of all that can be, that's outside of all of this. So we're existing within a 3D matrix material reality, while the truth of our being, the truth of our divinity, lies outside of that. So that's the paradox, that's the conundrum. And if you get anything out of this video, is that we're living in the material 3D world as material girls. We are living in a material world, I'm a material girl, but we're not of it. So when we, as all of us do erroneously, as we're taught to, unless you just had some extra conscious, extra woke parents, we mistake the appearance of this 3D reality as truth, as validation as to what we can accept about ourselves and what we have the right to believe will be the case. And the 3D reality tends to convince us to think, or if we allow it to, convince us to think in terms of permanence. So we think that because things have been a certain way, they will continue to be a certain way if we invest in the lie of linearity, that, time happens in a future past context, and that because there's a certain amount of things that led up to here now, there's a certain amount of things that are going to continue and lead to a certain predictable event. And we're making that prediction based on the awareness and the attention that we've had on objects or experiences or states of being of the past. So we are living in a material world, but our soul, our divinity, the truth of what we are, exists outside of us. And it is through that power of awareness, through the assignments of our attention, that is how we manifest. Nobody needs to teach you to manifest. I'm always saying, nobody needs to teach you to manifest. You're already manifesting. You are a manifestation. However, we talk about attention and we talk about state of being here. So that's really the key takeaway for tonight, is that when you can see yourself as outside of all of this. And, if we're talking about the 4D or the 5D, or you get into all the different Ds, whatever, there's truth to that. But that's like really not my point. It's understanding that it's all happening here now. There is no linear time. We are immersed in the illusion of linear time. So when you start to divorce yourself, your understanding of self, really more so, your understanding of self from the appearance of the illusion of the 3D, that makes it the reason that I prefaced, when we're going to get to assumptions, I prefaced all of that. It's like when you understand that we're technically existing outside of all of this while having an experience of being within it, then you can stop assigning absolute truth to the experience of being within it, because that's an experience. That's not the absolute total reality of what's happening. The absolute total reality is that everything is happening, but we can't experience everything in the all that is in the localization of an individual meat suit. So we're experiencing what is allowed per our attention and the perceptual limits of having a brain and being able to see 0.004 of the light spectrum. And Joe Dispenza talks about the fact that, or has highlighted the fact that, atoms are 99.9% like dark matter space, which means, in the way that he phrased it, is that we're actually really more of nothing than we are more of something. So again, that's just a sign. I don't even care about the science. I really don't care about the damn science, because that's just the human brain trying to conceptualize what can't even really be talked about. So I don't really like the science can help you grasp a framework to apply to the divinity of yourself, but you want to try to describe source, describe God. I mean, we're lucky that we have access to some, and that's really just, thank God for the ancients, that we have some very minimal conceptualization as to what we're subject to if we allow ourselves to be controlled by the 3D reality, and then how to self-liberate and how to take that power back by the power that we have of our attention, of our awareness, of our agreements, and then that coagulating to a state of being. So we're existing outside of it. If you know that you're existing outside of it, you don't have to pay attention to so much of the stuff out here. And that doesn't mean ignore it. That doesn't mean deny it. It means that it's not the full truth. It means it's not all that's happening. The truth of your divinity is not of this place. It's just experiencing this place. There's everything happening all at once. You have access to everything happening all at once, but it's a matter of tuning your attention to that. So then what does it really even mean to assume something? This is the Ministry of Assumption Absolute, talking about the law of assumption. All of my insights are heavily guided by, well, yes, my experience, but Neville Goddard and definitely Bob Proctor, who is really more of the law of assumption lineage. And then the way that he talks about, the way I've heard it, law of assumption, he refers to it more of a law of vibration. And I mean, I got a book in my library of 132 universal laws. They're all saying the same thing. They're all saying different versions, different angles. I call it the kaleidoscope of perspective of saying the same thing. But what does it mean to assume something? Well, first you have to look at your positioning, because most of us are trying to manifest, we're trying to attract, we're trying to draw things to us by believing that if I just think about that thing, or if I wish and want and hope and pray and throw, mental psychic tantrums about it, that I will get what I want because I'm God, right? But that's the starting point. And there's 3 points that I'm going to make here tonight with that. Is it, what's your positioning? So the positioning always needs to be, regardless of what you're doing, whether you're visualizing or just living your daily life, whether you're scripting or whether you're ignoring all of it, you are always doing so as an individual. I call it the IEG, as an individualized expression of God. In every moment, you are living as an embodiment, as an incarnation of divinity, of source consciousness at every single moment. That never changes. Whether you are going through the worst circumstance that you ever could, or if you've been living your life on repeat, a type of Groundhog Day, that it is its own type of misery and its mundanity, or if you are on top of the world, peeking out, everything is great, and every spectrum of all of the parallels of timelines in between, you are always an individualized expression of God. You are always an expression of source consciousness. Always. That doesn't change. That is the positioning. And then tied to that positioning is what you say you are, what you tie to the power of your I am. The power of your awareness. Because again, that awareness is this creative capacity that we have that is a product of being an individualized expression of the all that is. So if we look at consciousness, okay, well, located within the human meat suit as a product of that consciousness is our awareness, is what we can exercise. I mean, it is just, it's pure being. And then in that awareness, we have attention, assignments, agreements, perception, imagination, memory, and all of those more psychic faculties or mental faculties, as Bob Proctor would refer to them. So if we have, the first part of positioning being that, like, no matter what, best or worst, it was best of times, worst times, I am an individualized expression of God. And whatever seating that I find myself in, that is the truth of my reality. And the second part of that being, as an individualized expression of God, what do I assign to the state of my being, to the state of my I am? Who do I say that I am? What do I credit to my identity? Do I believe that I'm someone that no matter what it is, everything always works out? Do I believe I'm divinely guided and protected? Do I believe that it doesn't matter what I do, I'm always going to be under the gun and everything's always going to be going to shit? Am I somebody who believes that no matter what, I just can't keep a partner? Am I somebody who always seems to get cheated on? Am I somebody who always has cash, doesn't even know how they have it, they just always have cash? Am I somebody who's always broke? Am I somebody who is a full expression of the divine life of love and trust and unity and the all? Am I someone who always feels like no matter what I do, I'm not good enough? Whatever you attach to that I am, that is you exercising your power of source consciousness and saying, this is the case for me. But it's not all of our thoughts and all of our emotions that manifest. If you've ever seen The Secret, which people crap on, I'm like, come on, I don't know. All of it's true. All of it's true from a different vantage point, right? But if you've seen The Secret, they talk about how all of your thoughts don't manifest because, like, what if you thought of, like, an elephant right now? Like, you wouldn't want an elephant in your house. Like, all of your thoughts don't manifest. So then what are the thoughts that do manifest? I would say that it's the thoughts that you persistently agree with. It is the thoughts that you persistently, so like the way that I've said it is that, you will always see what you're certain of. Whatever you're certain of, and certainty does not then mean it's the truth. It means that you've agreed with it over and over and over and over and over again. You've agreed with it enough times to where you have a sense of knowledge, not a sense of trust, not a sense of belief, but you have a perceived sense of knowledge that that is the case. And I always, make this example, having worked in the field of mental wellness for 7 years, individuals with low self-esteem know that they are whatever negative adjective. They know they're a piece of shit, or they know they're no good, or they know they'll never have what they want, or they know things don't ever work out for them. They know that. Why? Because they have aligned themselves and agreed with that fact so many different times that it is then manifested in their physical reality as evidence of what they believe about themselves, what they've agreed with. And then not having knowledge to this side of things, the more that they agree with it, the more that it manifests in front of them, the more that it manifests in front of them without knowledge of these universal laws, the more that they agree with it, the more that it solidifies into their then positioning and their I am, which is an exercise of their awareness as a gift of God consciousness, being an individualized expression of that. And then that continues. So if we're looking at, I wrote it backwards here, but, to position yourself as an individualized expression of source consciousness. And then what are you certain of? What do you agree with? Somebody could tell you, hey, this is like classic mindset work, right? Somebody could say, I hate your orange shirt. Well, that doesn't hit home if you're not wearing an orange shirt because you don't agree with it. But the things that, even just like on a self-esteem level that bother us the most are the things that we already agree to. That door is already open. Like, if somebody's throwing eggs at your house and you got the door closed, well, let's just hit in the closed door, meaning like it's not, the eggs are not hitting you inside. They're not personally attacking you. They're hitting a barrier. They're hitting that barrier, that wall, that door of protection that keeps your home closed. But if you got your door wide open and some kid comes through and is, just throwing eggs at you straight on, it's because you had an openness, you had a vulnerability to that. That door was already open. The door to, if somebody says, something about your body image or something about your intelligence or something about your earning potential or something about your right to express yourself in a certain way, and you already have that as an open insecurity because you already agree with it, then that's where it's going to hit you. But none of our agreements are the truth. I mean, everything is happening at once. There's an infinity amount of realities, of thoughts that you could agree with. And it's not like, okay, I agree with it once. Because you can change we're changing state. You've changed your state, I don't know how many times, even just watching this video. And that's the intent of the videos, is to give you access to a new remembrance that I can access this at any point in time. But it is something that you have to do with consistency, because if you decide that this is the new agreement that I have about myself as an exercising of the power of my I am, because my awareness is my creative capacity to exercise my power as an individualized expression of God, of the all that is, and then you open your phone or you start ruminating, or you get a bill or whatever it is, then you've kind of stepped back. You've kind of stepped out of that new state that you have agreed with for yourself. And then you have aligned yourself back with the old state, the persistent state, the state that is probably familiar and that you probably believe is always going to be the case, because it's been so familiar for so long. It might be difficult, as you do step out of it, to hold that with a kind of persistence, and the persistence, not try harder. I would reframe persistence as not try harder, but continue to keep choosing. As you see some evidence that doesn't align with whatever it is, it's like, no, that's the old script. I don't agree with that anymore. I'm not going to continue to agree with that. And as you persistently, as you choose again, over and over and over again, as you find your attention drifting to the old script, to using validation, you're not going to be able to validate your new state of self that you design and decide for yourself through the power of your I am in this moment. Again, because we're existing. That was where I started this video. The divinity, our capacity to even exercise these creative powers, that capacity, then that soul, that spirit is not even from here. So it's not subject. It's not subject to the things that are happening here. The things happening here are subject to us. But we have that backwards. So I don't know what I was saying. But I was talking about agreements. But anyway, so I don't script any of this. I just talk. I just think of a vague topic and I talk. So with our agreements, and then with that persistent agreements, with those agreements, that's going to lead you to something that you now accept. I think it was all related, but I think we were discussing that it's going to have to be more than once. Because you're going to make that agreement. That agreement that you can exercise is happening outside of all of this. That's the power that that's what I'm saying. That's the power that we have in our state, in our soul. But I'm not saying that instantaneous materialization, because materialization is when you've held this state so much and it no longer really matters to you as to, we're talking about like a kind of attachment, when it no longer really matters to you as to what's happening on the outside, because you're living it with such solidarity, with such internal unity in terms of the truth of that agreement on the inside. That's when you will see it manifest in front of you. And here's the thing, this process is happening regardless of you knowing any of this or doing it consciously. This is just the act of doing it consciously. All of what I said and all anybody has to say on any of this, the law of attraction, you're attracting shit based on your agreements, and that agreement is of yourself and who you are, and the exercising of your creative power, of your awareness is creative field around you, and that field is creating things that are in resonance, that are coherent with that field, and that's the reality that you're experiencing, regardless of if you know any of this. That's already happening. So we're just breaking down what's happening. So if you're watching this and you're like, I don't desire what's happening in my life. Okay, well, this is the instruction manual, right? And each transmission is a kind of instruction manual. So when you understand that the power that we have to create is outside of this realm, then you don't look at this realm as validation that substantiates what that power is and what it's allowed to do. It's not even happening here on this plane through that way, but you are the vessel for that creation. So we position ourselves in the power of I am. We choose then what our state is going to be. We make agreements with that state. You have to see it as certain. You have to decide that I am love. That's it. That's it. People that have left me, times I got disrespected, whatever else is going on, that coworker that doesn't like me, my neighbor that they seem to have a problem with me, whatever it is, that's not relevant in my field. I'm love. That's all I experience love. Everybody adores me. Everybody is just enchanted with me. I am charismatic. I am sexy. I am love. I am love. I am love abundant. I am an expression of that. And that's all that's happening. That is my agreement that I make with myself because I am positioned in the power of my I am. That's what I assign to myself. And then, and you're going to choose that over and over and over again, which can result in a kind of reprogramming, but you're going to choose that over and over and over again until it becomes something that you accept. And you can do this process in a day. You can do this process in a moment. You can do this process over 10 years. Because it's not about the time, but this is a breakdown. This is a version of a breakdown of the process. My breakdown is not any more valid than anybody else's breakdown. It's just a breakdown that I use for myself. And I have another one that I'm going to film eventually and turn into a PDF called the Source Code Consciousness, or the Source Code Codex of Consciousness. Or still playing with the name. That's why it's not out yet. But that's going to break it down into 7 steps. The same thing. You could break it down into 1,000,000 steps. It could be 1 step. Just decide it. Another 1 step. It could be just be it. This is a little bit more of a, okay, well, how do you just be it? You position yourself, you make agreements with that positioning as source consciousness, and then through consistent and persistent agreements that you make, you will see what you're certain of. You will accept that. And again, this is this is not like a process of like, oh, well, I'm in the agreement stage and I'm trying to accept it. Like, no, this is one swoop. And you accept it. But again, that acceptance will be easier the more that you do this with more consistency. And then you will see it. But as you understand, none of this is about seeing it, because what we're seeing is the result, is the illusion, is the appearance, is what it seems to be, because we're projecting all of what we are based on the assignments of our awareness from the divinity of our soul. And that's not from here. That's not of this plane. So our divinity is not subject to this. Again, this out here is subject to us. So the minute that you decide it, because we are all things living in individualized expression, that's the moment that it happens. But no, you're not. Probably. I mean, again, stranger things have happened, but you're probably not going to see that exactly immediately, but you can. I'm not closing that off. I'm not setting that as a limit for you. I'm just saying that materialization is not the truth. The truth is your decision. The truth is your agreement. The truth is your alignment. The truth is your acceptance. The truth is whatever the fuck you say it is, because your ability to exercise a form of creative truth comes from the fact that you're an individualized expression of God. You're an individualized expression of source. You're all of it. So you're just tuning what you want to see, what you want to experience. And you understand that in wanting it, it's already done. Because we're talking about the realm of the soul, of consciousness, of divinity, of the 4D, 5D, the manifestation is instant. It happens the moment that you decide that it's the case. That's what I'm always saying. The moment you decide it's the case, it is. The materialization, that's what happens after. But if you're being it and you're choosing to live out the state of that experience, the experience is like a bonus after effect. That's the extra toppings. It's not the pizza itself. So With that, signing off of tonight's transmission of the Ministry of Assumption Absolute. Check out the Dispatches from the Edge of Obvious podcast. It's a more philosophical take on some different themes. I definitely address more of the separation aspect, more of the human life aspect of things, utilizing these topics as a framework on the Dispatch podcast. And then there's the Liberation Chronicle as well, which is the written word of this platform. I thank you for co-creating this moment with me. Remember to be good to yourselves and others, because everybody's just a version of you. Anyway, until next time.